What's up YouTube, hope you are doing really well, and I am finally back after a long period with a new Davinci Resolve color grading tutorial, and in this video I am going to use an exciting plugin which is Dehancer. They sent an email to me and wanted me to do a review of their plugin and give my honest opinion about it, and I decided to test it on one of my portrait videos, and the result was just perfect, and I achieved an amazing result, and it made my portrait video really filmic and it gave it an analog vibe, and I really liked the result. So I decided to make a review of this plugin, and I show you in this video how I did the color grading of this video and how I achieved this result. By the way, this is a new version of Dehancer plugin, which is version 7, which comes with a lot of new features like film damage tool, which is really exciting and you will see it later. And let's go and see what we achieved with this plugin and how amazing it is. So I shot this video with Slog3 picture profile and with A7IV with a 10-bit color codec, and in order to edit this video with a color managed workflow with Davinci Wide Gamut, in order to get the most out of the dynamic range, you need to go to the settings of the project, and in the color management tab you need to set the timeline color space to the Davinci Wide Gamut intermediate and just save it. And after that you need to create two nodes, one CST in and one CST out, and I will explain it here. The first node is for the color space transformation input, and the other one is the color space transformation output. And as you see, this just easily converts our video from Slog3 to Rec 709, and between these two nodes we are working in a Davinci Wide Gamut zone, and which gives us the most dynamic range in colors. So let's take a look at the settings of this color space transform. If we go to the effects, it's just really easy. Let me show you. If you haven't worked with this, let me reset it and I will disable this. For the CST, you just drop the color space transfer effect to the CST in, and for the input color space you set it to the Slog3, the picture profile which you shot the video in, and here I find the Slog3, the Gamut 3, the color space of that picture profile, it was a Sony Gamut 3, and the input gamma of that picture profile is Slog3. And after that, for the output color space, you just set it to the Davinci Wide Gamut, which we set in the project settings, and the output gamma is the Davinci Intermediates. And as you see now, after this node, we are working in a Davinci Wide Gamut zone. And for the last node before the Dehancer, we just set again we drop another color space transform to that node, and we set the input color space to Davinci Wide Gamut because it is receiving from the last node. As I said, we are between these two nodes, we are in Davinci Wide Gamut zone, so I select Davinci Wide Gamut and Davinci Intermediate. And for output color space, because we are exporting this video for a social media or anything else, we want the Rec 709 color space, so we set it to the Rec 709 and as you see here, if I enable it, now we have a properly converted video to Rec 709, which we can start the grading process on it. So for the primaries, as you see, if I enable it, I just changed a little bit of the settings here, not so much. If I show you here, for the HDR wheels, I went to the HDR wheels and I balanced the video a little bit. I made it cooler, as you see here, the temperature to balance the video a little bit. It was really warm, and if I reset it, you will see that it was really warm, and I just balanced it a little bit. It's a matter of your preference, you can do it or not. I do this every time I balance the video, and then I will make the colors the way I want. I will warm the tones or cool the tones. After that, I just want to start with a neutral tone, so I balance the video here. And for the primaries, and as you see here, I just played a little with the lift. I had set it to -5, and for the gamma, I increased the gamma to make the midtones a little bit brighter. As you see, it was set to 6 to make the midtones a little bit brighter. And for the gain, I didn't change it a lot because I didn't want my highlights to be really bright because we have a good contrast here. And for the midtone detail, I set it to -25 because I wanted to give it a soft look to the video. And as you see, as you decrease this midtone detail, it makes the details really soft. I think the -25 was enough for this video. And this was it for the primaries, not so much here. And after that, I went to my next node, the background node, and I wanted to make this foliage a little bit towards the yellow. As you see here, I used the hue versus hue, and I changed the hue of these foliages to the yellow from the green to make them more yellowish. And after that, I went to my look adjustment node here, as you see. And in this node, I wanted to make the video more warm and give it a warm look. And I use the primary bars here. I decrease the gain, the blues in the gain, the green and the red, and the most change was in the gamma, which is a midtone, because most of this video is sitting in the midtone, as you see here. I changed the blue, I decreased the blue to add the yellow. As you see, as you know, the opposite of blue is yellow. So if you want to add yellow to the midtones, you just decrease the blues. I decreased the blues to -3, as you see here. If I decrease it to -3, it just adds more yellow to the video. And I decreased the greens a little bit to add decrease the greens which was added to video. And I just decreased the red again, -1 to the red, to decrease those reds in the midtones. And for the lift again, I also decreased the greens to remove some of the greens in the shadows, and also decrease the reds to again remove some of the reds in the hair. As you see here, if I change it, you see there was a lot of red in the shadows, and by decreasing the reds, I add a little bit of cyan, and this just balances the video. And here is my look adjustment node, which made the video warmer and gave it a warm look. And also I had a glow effect here. It did not change it didn't make a lot of changes here because we didn't have a big highlight, but you can see it makes a little bit difference to the highlights. It gives a glow look to the highlights. This is just more present in areas with which you have a sun in the sky or a big highlight source, and it makes a lot of difference to add glow effect. And now we go to the Dehancer plugin effect, which made this video really fantastic, and it made it really different from my other videos. It gave it a filmic look, and it made the video look like an analog film, not a digital film. And as you see, if I enable it, this just gives such a different vibe to the video. And now I want to open this plugin effect and show you what exactly I changed to achieve this effect and make it really filmic. And as you see, this is just so much filmic with grain and other effects, which makes this video really special. Now let's go to the effects tab and see what effects I changed in this Dehancer plugin to achieve this effect. It has so many great options here. I will go through one by one and give you a short explanation, and we will see what we achieved here. By the way guys, the Dehancer is going to increase the price of their plugin from $399 to $449 from June 1st. So if you decide to buy this plugin, you can use my promo code MEHRANHD to get 10% off out of your purchase, and you will also support my channel. So the first item in the Dehancer Pro is the input, and you need to set the source to your input. For this project, because I was working in a Davinci White Gamut timeline color space and I want to export it in Rec 709, I selected the Davinci White Gamut Rec 709. And after that I went to the film developer, and here you can just change the film contrast and gamma, make some gamma correction. As you see, if I change it, you will see that it gives much more contrast to the video. I set it to 17, it was okay for me. And we have gamma correction. If you see here, it changes the gamma of the video. I did not play with this a lot because I was really pleased with the result. I just changed the color boost. This gives a good kind of saturation to the video, and it does not clip the colors. You can decrease the saturation or increase the saturation to your liking. It does this in a controlled way, which is really nice. And after that we have the film. This is the most fantastic part of this plugin, which you can select kind of a film which you like and which mostly represents the mood of your video. I chose the Fuji Color Natura 1600 and I really liked it. You can test all the different amazing film profiles here. You can test just to see which one gives you the best look. I really like the Fuji Color Natura for this video. Again, if you test here, you will see lots of different profiles. You can go through one by one and to see which one you like more. I chose the Fuji Color Natura 1600. I really liked the effect it gave to the video. And this was my film lot which I selected for this video. And after that we have film compression. I really like this effect in Dehancer. This is one of the most amazing features of this plugin, which as you see here, it compresses the highlights, and the video does not look any more digital. And I think with this effect you can get the most filmic look out of the video. As you see here, the compression in highlights just makes it so much more filmic, and I really like it. You can change the settings to give it more compression. As you see here, if I change the impact, you can see the more of the highlights goes to the midtones, and makes the compression more. And other than that, you have the white point. Again, you can change the white point to select how much of your whites you want to go through to the midtones, and by changing the white point you can select that. And you have other options like tonal range. Again, this changes, I think, the midtones. I did not play with this, I set it to default. And we have color density. Again, it adds I think, as you see here, it's adding color in the highlights and adding some color to the highlights. Again, I didn't play with this, I set it to default. And after the film compression we have the expand option. Here you can set your black point and white point, and I think this is a good option for the color grading. When you are using the Dehancer, you can do this as a first step after setting your input and setting your film profile. You can come here and set your black point and white point in order to have a good black point and a white point. You can see if I change it, you can increase the whites, and here again, if you change the black points, you can add much more contrast in blacks. The next effect we have here is print, in order to do a direct viewing or do a print on a positive film for a screen projection. I didn't change anything here because I was pleased with the results, so I will skip this part. And after that we have color head. Again, I didn't change anything here, but here you can enable it and add tones in your blue tones or yellow tones to your video, to the highlights. And as you see, it is adding tones to the highlights, midtones and shadows. I didn't change it, but you can play with these options. These are really cool options which this plugin offers you. And I disable it because I didn't change anything for this video here. And after that we go to the next effect, which is film grain. This is one of the really amazing effects which the Dehancer Pro offers you. It adds a really natural grain to your video, because this is just different from the film grain that the Davinci Resolve, the internal Davinci Resolve film grain adds to the video. It's like a overlay to your video, but this kind of film grain which Dehancer Pro adds to your video, it's really different. It's really intelligent. It's the same as a film, analog film. It acts like that, and it is really natural, and that's why this film grain of the Dehancer Pro makes it really special and different. It changes frame by frame, and it's not just a simple overlay on your film. And I really like this effect, and it just makes your video really special and filmic. And as you see here, we have lots of different options which you can select. I chose the default settings, the 35mm ISO 250. And for the next item which we have in Dehancer Pro is halation. Halation adds a red orange halo to your bright highlights and contrasting edges. And if I enable and disable this, you can see that we have some halos, and we have also some red tints in the mid-tone areas, especially the skin tones, and I think it is really welcome and pleasing, and gives a really great mood to your portrait videos. And I really like this effect, the halation effect. Again, you can change the profile and change the settings and try the different options. Here I chose the default one. You can change and see this just gives much more halation, as you see here, compared to the Super 35. You can just test it to see which one you like more. I like the default setting. It was this one. As you see, it is really harsh, and I go with the default one, which is really light, and I really like the light effects on the video. I do not go too far always. The next effect is bloom effect, and as you see here, the bloom, if I enable and disable it, it's a kind of light dispersion on the boundaries and contrasting edges, and this again makes the video really beautiful and filmic. I really like this effect around the boundaries and the contrasting edges, and this just makes the video more filmic. And after that we have film damage. Again, if I enable and disable it, let me full screen the video. This is the film damage effect, and if you pay attention to the video, sometimes you will see some white dots and some other problems, some other lines which go through the video. As you see, we have a dot here. I don't know if you can see this in YouTube, but this adds accidental dots and lines to the video, which happens in a film because in the old times the films were not perfect. They had problems, and that just made it so much natural and gave a really fantastic look to the video. And here again, you can enable and disable this, and we have different options here. Again, I went with the default one. You can see this, if you can see the effect here. You can check the video in 4K, the original video, to see these effects really better. And as you see, we have a line here, and here is the film damage effect. I went with the default settings, which is the 35mm Super 35, and here is the film damage effect of the Dehancer Pro. The next item in Dehancer Pro is film breeze. This effect is like a sudden change in your video's contrast, exposure, and saturation. If I enable and disable this, you will not see so much different, because this happens frame by frame, and it will have a really gentle effect, gentle change in the brightness and the contrast. And I think again, this is one of those effects which emulates the film, the characteristics of a film. And I enabled this again to get the most of the Dehancer Pro plugin. The next effect we have in the Dehancer Pro is gate weave. This just zooms a little bit on your video because it wants to emulate the effect of a film strip which is moving in a camera is being pulled. It doesn't move in a straight line and it might go a little bit up and down, and this just moves your video a little bit up and down. Again, you might not see the effect really well here, but it is working and making the video much more like a film. Again, I went with the default option. You can use so many different options here. I went with this 35mm for the gate weave. And the next effect here, again, we have vignette. I really like the vignette on the video. As you see here, it adds a dark, it makes the edges dark in a circle, and you can go with it with the different exposure settings to add more vignette. I think that minus 250 was enough for this video. I didn't want to make it so much. And again, this was the vignette effect, and this was all the settings which I changed for this video. And you have other options here. We have false color, which you can use, and it's really awesome because we have this option in our field monitors. And here again, you can also have access to the false color with the Dehancer Pro plugin. And you have also a clipping indication which shows we have these parts black. These are true black parts. This just helps you really so much in color grading, and this was the grading which I did for this video. And after the Dehancer, you can set your sharpening note for the last note, and this was my whole project. And let me show you some other sequences. Here is another sequence which I did the grading with the Dehancer. Let me show you the before and after. It made so much difference. The grain really made the video really better and more beautiful, and I really like the effect of this plugin. I'm going to definitely use this plugin for my portrait videos. It makes so much difference, and if you check my old portrait videos, you can see they were really digital, but in this new one, it was just a big progress for me. In my portrait videos, it made the video really cinematic. If you check this one, if I enable and disable the Dehancer node, you can see how it compresses the highlights and how beautiful the film grain and the film damage effects works here. This is just a different vibe, and I really like this result. And I just watched this video so many times, my portrait video. I do not watch my videos so much, but this one had a really different vibe for me, and I really like the effect which I achieved with the Dehancer Pro. And again, do not forget that you can use the promo code Mehran HD in order to get a 10% off your purchase of this plugin. And I really hope you liked this tutorial and you learned something great out of it. So as you saw, we got an amazing result with the Dehancer plugin, and it gave a really filmic vibe to the portrait video, and I really liked it. And I am definitely going to use this plugin for my future portrait videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you really liked this tutorial. I will see you in my future videos.